Good morning, everybody, and welcome to worship. It's Tuesday morning, and as you can see, I'm in my house this morning, nice and early, trying to record a worship time ready for you when you get to school. So let's start our worship. The Lord is here. His Spirit is with us. Now, I don't know whether you like building, but in our house, we've got lots of Lego, big tubs of Lego. And often at birthdays and Christmas, we have Lego building kits. So you might be already an expert builder. Now, I'd just like to share my screen because I've got some pictures. There we go. So look at the first one. So the title of our worship this morning is, Are You a Master Builder? Now, you might use some of these construction kits in your house. I know some of you use them at school. There's a magnetic one up in the top right corner. We've got Lego and K'NEX, and there's the cogs and wheel sets that I think we've got in the infants down at the bottom left. Now, if you're building something, you know that you have to think carefully about what you're doing, don't you? You want your building to work. If you want it to have a solid foundation and not be a wonky building, you need to think carefully where to build it. So when Jack at my house is building a Lego model, he doesn't balance it on a cushion, because if he did that and sort of banged it, his house or his model would just fall over. So you need a firm surface, don't you? Like the table that my laptop's on, or maybe on the floor. So you've got to think about what you build on, and you've got to plan what you build so that it will be strong, so that it doesn't collapse, and so that you'll be able to use it. It's fit for purpose. So if you want your little people to live in it, or if you want to drive it, or if you want to roll it, whatever you want to do with your building, your creation, it needs to be solid, doesn't it? So let's have a look. Some of you, I know, are experts at building digitally. Now, I have never built anything on Minecraft in my life, so I would need some advice, wouldn't I? I'd need some help, maybe some instructions from a friend, somebody who knows what they're doing, who's used Minecraft before, to get me started and to show me how to build. And I know lots of you have had fun over the last few months working on Minecraft and talking to your friends about what you're building. You might have taken advantage of all this sunny weather too and gone to the beach. Now, that sandcastle on the left with the dragon at the bottom is amazing, isn't it? I was on holiday once in Barcelona and they had lots of these sand sculptures. They're just more than sandcastles, aren't they? All different kinds along the beach for people to admire. My attempts at building sandcastles are a bit more like the ones in the bottom right with the toddlers there. And when you build a sandcastle, you can spend a long time on your creation, can't you? But you know that it's not going to last forever. What might happen to your sandcastle, do you think? That's right, if you build it in a place where the tide's going to come in, then the water will lap up against your sandcastle and it will make your foundation of your castle wobbly, and then your castle will collapse. Also, if it rains, if it's rainy and windy, then the dragon castle, even though it's been beautifully built, it wouldn't survive, would it? It would just fall flat. Now, I think you've probably got an idea what our parable this morning might be. Yes, you're right, it's the wise and foolish builders, or the two house builders. There are lots of names for the parables, but this one is all about two people who build a house. And I don't know whether you can see the sign there in the middle, but it says, build your house on the rock. And that's what we're going to be thinking about this morning, because Jesus told parables to explain things to people. He told parables to give people a special message. And what he was trying to tell people in this story, the wise and foolish builder story, is that if you build your life on Jesus and the values, the Christian values that he showed us how to live by in the Bible, if you build your life on that, you will have a solid foundation. So I've just got a little animation to show you. If I can swap from the PowerPoint to the animation. Okay, here we go. The parables of Jesus. the two house builders. And you can find this story in the book of Matthew in the Bible. Jesus said, anyone who hears and obeys my teachings is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. One day there was a wise man. He looked for a good place to build his house. He tapped the rock. This is the perfect place to build my house, he said. So he planned his house, he chose his materials carefully, and he worked for a long time, hammering and sawing and building his house. He wanted it to stand firm. He took lots of care and worked really hard, concentrated until his house was finished. And then he decided he'd earned himself a nice cup of tea. So he went inside to relax in his house. That's a job well done. Then it began to rain. It poured down. It rained and rained and rained, and the floods came. The floodwaters came higher and higher, and the wind blew and beat on the house. But the house didn't budge at all. It did not fall down because it was built on a rock. Jesus said, anyone who hears my teaching and doesn't put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The foolish man came along. He didn't choose very carefully where to build his house. He just found the first place he came to. It was sandy. This is the perfect place to build my house, he said. He didn't really plan his house very well. He just went straight ahead without thinking. Oh, lots of mistakes were made as he built his house, but he persevered and kept going. It didn't take him very long at all. Last touches, not quite right, but never mind, he thought. And he decided he'd go inside too for a nice cup of tea. He relaxed in his house, but not for long because it began to rain. The rain poured down, and the floods came, and the house started to move. In fact, the house became very unsteady. The man inside panicked, and the winds blew and beat on the house. The house fell with a great big crash. The man was devastated. Oh, what am I going to do, he thought. But the wise man came along. He came to his rescue. I'll show you what to do, he said. And he took the foolish man and showed him how to build on the rock, so they could both live happily ever after. So build your life on what Jesus teaches us, and you'll stand strong through any of life's storms. The end. So in that little animation, we saw that the wise man really thought carefully, didn't he, about where he was going to build and what he was going to use. And Jesus shows us in the Bible so many examples of how to build our lives, how to put them on solid foundations. Being wise isn't about knowing lots of things. It's not about being clever in the sense of learning things so that you can recite lots of information. Being wise is about making good choices. And those Christian values, those 10 Christian values that we have at school, are a bit like our scaffolding when we're building. They help us to choose the right things. So being wise is about making good choices. Being foolish is about making poor choices, bad choices that usually lead to negative or sad endings. But being wise and making good choices, positive choices, sometimes it's harder work. Sometimes it takes longer when you choose the way with a good choice, because maybe you've got to face something like the Good Samaritan. Do you remember when he thought, oh, do I walk past and leave this person who is hurt, or should I be an upstander and help and make this situation better? And he made that good choice, didn't he? That wise choice to help the injured man. It wasn't easy. In fact, it probably took him quite a long time. A few hours he invested in this friend, this man who was injured, but he helped him. And at the end of that, he could feel satisfied that he'd done a good job. So During our week this week, we'll be faced with lots of choices, won't we? And I want you to remember that little animation with the wise man and the foolish man. And I want you to try and make those good choices. Now, sometimes you might think, oh, I don't know what choice to make. So then you might need some help or some advice. Just like the foolish man needed advice from the wise man at the end, he went away and he showed him how to do it. So you can talk to other people, say, what do you think I should do? Maybe you can talk to some grown-ups that you trust. Maybe you can remember stories that Jesus had told that showed how to be kind and how to help others. Those Christian values are also universal values. That means that everybody in the world shares those values. They're good values for life, whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, or from any different kind of religion, or if you haven't got a strong faith yet. All those values that Jesus taught are values for everyone. So this week, I want you to think about building and how, as you're growing up, you can build your life on solid foundations, on the values that Jesus taught us, so that your house, your building, your life can stand firm. Let's finish with a prayer. You put your hands together and close your eyes. Dear God, please help us to make wise choices. Wise choices when we're in the classroom, so that we can persevere and not give up with our work, so that we can help each other to do the best learning that we can. Help us to make wise choices when we're playing with our friends in the playground. Help us be upstanders, stand up for what is right. And if we see problems, help us try and help. Help us to be making wise choices in our homes as we get along with our families. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. So, happy building today, and remember, make those wise choices like the wise builder. See you later. Have a good day.